Friends, I am pleased to finally dive into Sonia's new holiday Japanese Gardens Maki-e set for 2024. This set is available on Beautylish exclusively. It dropped on the 12th. It retails for $159, and yes, it is only available as a set as it is a limited edition release. Now, I highly recommend, as I always do with my Sonia videos, that you head over to her blog sweetmakeuptemptations.com, where Sonia goes into fine detail about the process behind all of her brush sets, goes into comparisons and whatnot. But what I wanted to highlight, especially for the Japanese Gardens Maki-e set, is how these brushes are directly inspired from Sonia's or of Sonia's love of Japanese gardens. And Sonia emphasizes how Japanese gardens are constructed, the architecture, and all the elements that come into play, because it is designed to invoke that sense of serenity, calm, and peace. And this is what Sonia wanted to imbue in the brush handle designs. If you look closely here, she has a bronze spray paint, or the artisans rather, using the Maki-e technique to create this soft bronze glow from the center of the curve at the bottom of the handle to represent that soft light glow that emits from a lantern found in the garden. And this is to coincide with her previously released limited edition sets. She had mentioned on her blog that the Japanese garden represents that time of day when the sun begins to set and the lanterns start to emit their soft glow of light, where you had the sunset crane design on her squirrel set. So all these brushes play into what I consider Sonia's love letters to Japanese culture. They all connect in that way, especially the summer koi set, where you have the lotus flower and the koi fish, very much a part of a Japanese garden setup, in my opinion. And now with the Japanese garden set, you can see all these different elements, that crane flying past the moon, the Japanese architecture here, the maple leaves, the stepping stones that Sonia described as something from her childhood that she remembers vividly. And now to have that on a brush, and just to have it all tie in together, knowing Sonia's love for Japanese made brushes and to represent it here in this limited edition set, I think it's just a remarkable experience, especially for someone who collects Fude and who is a huge fan of Sonia. And what I would argue is what's unique about her brand, right? Some people who are not familiar with Sonia might not understand the high price, might not understand Japanese made brushes in general. But I think what you buy into Sonia, again, is just how she communicates her love and respect for the Japanese culture. And again, what I consider to be love letters every time she creates, whether it's a single brush or a brush set, a limited edition set, whatever it is almost like seeing through her lens what she has experienced, not only in general Japanese culture, but her experience working with the craftsmen in Kumano, Japan. Everything from the handle construction, the bristle, the hair type that goes into creating these brushes, and now the Maki-e technique. So it's definitely for a consumer, and a huge thank you, my apologies for not mentioning this at the beginning of the video, that this set was sent to be complimentary by the Beautylish team and Sonia, and I am grateful for the opportunity, because my goodness, I couldn't ask for a more beautiful gift. You probably saw the footage roll already with the unboxing, and I just had to show the close-ups of the box design, which is a little different from what we've seen in previously released sets, that the design reflects very much what's on the handle. And the box is made out of paulownia wood, which is a lightweight wood that's also anti-bug, it protects. In short, the gold detailing for Sonia G on the bottom of the box and at the top of the box, the washi paper that's green, such detail that went into this entire package. And each individual brush, I think, is fantastic for multiple tasks, but let's go through them individually. First, we have our small blender brush, which all brushes, might I say, made out of white Tuckahoe goat hair and white Canadian hair. A fantastic combination, and I think a nice harmony between softness and strength. Sonia calls it the crease brush, and she had also mentioned on her blog that creating small crease brushes is a passion of hers, because to make that compromise between fluffiness and precision, and to have it in a brush size such as this that you can clearly see from Sonia's collection. I even have her mini booster here from her Sky Eye set, which is small indeed, but set up next to the crease brush from the Japanese Garden set, you can see that the Japanese Garden brush is smaller and has more of a prominent point, whereas the mini booster comes to a round shape at the tip. I also wanted to quickly show Bobo's Yoshiki collab eyeshadow brush that I thought of immediately. Now, I believe this is either Tuckahoe blend with white Canadian or all white Canadian, but the Sonia Japanese Garden brush is smaller. It's much smaller and a little more precise, where you're not going to get the same splay as you do from Bobo's brush. So I just wanted to present that comparison in case you were wondering. This is definitely going to get deeper into the crease, but still leave behind a diffused effect. Next, we have the Builder, which very much replicates the shape found in her Summer Koi set, as well as her Sunset Crane set. So they all have different brush types, but they are virtually similar in size. Maybe there's more of a taper there in the Sunset Crane brush, but I wanted to present when Sonia was describing the difference between those three builders. We're describing the Sunset Builder brush that's made exclusively with blue squirrel, where squirrel hair doesn't deposit color as intensely, that you can build it gradually, whereas the Canadian goat hair blend deposits it more intensely, but you also have time to build the color gradually. I thought that was an interesting distinction to be made between the two bristle types. And lastly, we have our small pencil brush that replicates what's found again in the Sunset Crane. They are similar, but you will get more precision from the Japanese Garden brush, whereas the squirrel hair pencil brush from the Sunset Crane set is going to leave more of a diffuse line across the lash if you wanted something softer but more precise under the lash line. So those are the expectations among these different shapes. But now that we've gone through the brush set details and the individual brushes, is now to put these to the test, and I'm excited to use some new eyeshadow. Yes, I fell into the trap of the YSL mini clutch eyeshadow quads. I cannot get enough, so I bought two. But this is a perfect opportunity to now see them in action. But now we get to see these brushes in action and use some new eyeshadow. I'll see you back here in a minute. I prepped my lids with Mother's Eye Primer, and first up we have the collector's or holiday edition for the YSL Mini Clutch eyeshadow in Stora Dolls. I had my eye on this specific one because of this taupier nature. And I bought these from Nordstrom, by the way, because they have more colorways than Sephora does. I also have 710 over Brun, which, my gosh, I could not get away from. I had to have this. I know it's basic AF. Basically, like, if I need a warm and I need a nude, had a baby, they would make this quad for me. Especially for me. Let's get into our crease brush first, and I wanted to dip in to this more taupier shade, which is actually, well, you want to see swatches? Get ready for a combination video. That's more of a satin pearl. This is more of like a satin taupe. We have this beautiful overlay shade. Look at that shine, it's incredible. And then we have our bark brown matte. You see that? You can't go wrong with this combination. That's why I had to have it. And for over Brun, we have the sparkly arcly shade that's almost like a copper bronze. It's just remarkable. Then we have our medium, I want to say caramel. Yeah, I would say medium caramel. Hey. Next, we have this beautiful, what seems to be like a golden bronze satin. Ooh, maybe we would classify that more as metallic. And now we have this gorgeous burnished, almost like brown plum. I don't even know where to start. I don't know where to begin. We're going with the taupey taupe first. For my larger eye shape, I do have to use the side of the brush to deposit color on the outer lid, and then use the tip to pull the shadow across the crease, and now use the very tip of the brush to spread it along. And that's basically the placement that you'll get, and I think it quite advantageous, especially here on the lower lash line. If you wanted a more diffuse serving of color, you most certainly can achieve that without the shadow dropping too low. And that is gorgeous. If we wanted, I can head over to our builder, pick up that same shadow, and cover more area here along the outer lid, or bring it in over the entire lid, and that is what we have. The color itself, I think, fantastic, suitable for me to just wear all over the lid and call it a day. But I wanted to put the builder to the test when it comes to smoking out the outer lid, which is what I think unique about this shape in general. I have, or I should have, a standard builder brush from Sonia. This is from her Selects series. You see how this is much wider, and the one from her Japanese garden set is more narrow. The more narrow shape, I think, advantageous if you like to use shader brushes for smoking up the outer lid and not want to use something like the crease brush, right? The more narrow width allows you to be a little more precise here and whipping out the shadow in a way that still appears diffused, but you have control over the placement because, again, of the brush's size. You can still use the crease brush, however, to refine the edges even more. Once you've applied the majority of the shadow where you want it to sit, you go with your blender now just to airbrush the edges, and look at that. Also a testament to how fantastic these shadows are. Many of you had validated my shopping decision and encouraged me to look more into these quads. My goodness, you can't get better than this. But also, I wanted to see the pencil brush in action. So picking up that dark brown shade and pulling it here across the lash line, and that, I think, fantastic. The brush is incredibly soft and fluid, but has incredible pickup. So if you just wanted to keep that shadow along the lash line and forego what we did here, smoking out the outer lid, you could go that route. I think it's fantastic picking up the sparkly arcly shade if you wanted to invite that into the inner arc. And that just makes it incredibly simple. This is something I like to do with these types of finishes. Another region, if you will, to place a sparkly shade. If you don't want it on your lid or on the inner corner, you could place it on the inner arc of your eye. If you have this type of an eye shape, I understand if you have smaller hooded eyes, you will have to resort to, yes, not the lid, but with this brush, incredibly precise here on the inner lower half, right? Because of the brush's flexibility, but also precision. This is a fantastic pencil brush. It is incredibly soft. It's not flimsy, but it's not overly stiff either, where you feel you can't fluidly move the shadow where you need it to go. And I would also argue picking up the dark brown shadow, incredible for the lower lash line. If you wanted to nudge in more color here closer to the lashes and not have any gaps, this is the one. But I'm sure you want to see this sparkly arcly shade in action, right? We definitely have to go in now with our builder and sweep that color along the entire lid. Just look at that. My goodness. Now for the other side. Whew. Let's see and go back with our crease brush. And I wanted to start with this caramel matte shade and just toss this quickly through the crease. Now, if you have my eye shape, this brush is not going to leave as much of a blown out effect as her larger crease brushes in her collection. Crease Pro, I think there's also one in her Sky Face set. I also have on standby This is from her Select series too. This is a much larger brush, and even though still more precise than her fluffier blenders, it's gonna have or leave behind more of a blown out effect. But what this size serves for an eye shape like mine is, again, to be a little more precise to the crease, but have still a soft blown out effect still occur. So this can most certainly play a role in your eye routine if you have larger eyes. But if you have smaller eyes, my goodness, this is going to fit directly into your socket and move that shadow with ease. Just to see the pencil now in action, I'm picking up that, well, here, let's go back to the swatches, this shade here, and moving it across my lash line. The pickup is incredible. It picks up ample shadow where it deposits it well, and you can see the shadow distinctly. And again, because of its flexibility, you can refine the placement and the blend, and dare I say, have an opportunity to create a wicked wing. I mean, my goodness, because of its point, it makes it simpler to achieve that shape. So if you're into wing shadow, this is the one to use 100%. Look at that. My goodness, this little guy, because if you felt that the Sunset Crane pencil brush was too soft, and I could quickly show you the difference, this is definitely softer and it's not going to pick up as much and deposit as much, but you still used it because you relied on it for a soft diffuse serving of a lash line smoke. But the one from the Japanese Garden Maki-e set is going to give you a far more robust serving of color and also a sharper finish of a wing if that's what you wish to use it for. Now we got to go into, well, I wanted to see, I could just film another video. This is not going to be it. But just for film's sake, I'll complete the look by tapping on the Sparkly Arcly on the center of the lid. Wow, wow, wow. Listen, this is incredible. Sonia's builder brushes are designed, I think, ultimately for these types of textures. Now, while I understand what makes the YSL shadows insanely unique is that this texture is fairly easy to pick up. It's not hard, it's not baked. You know, even with the smaller brush, even with from the Sunset series, right? This guy here, that's much softer. This is a squirrel brush. You will still have success in picking up this texture, right? So when you have the right brush and the right formula, it's a match made in heaven. I'm just cleaning up a little bit here. And also I'll toss in this satin shade that we swatched and I'll place it on the inner part of the eye. I know I switched brushes, but ultimately, if you have all the sets, you know what I mean? And then returning with our crease brush to just refine the edges here, right? That placement through the crease, ensuring that all the edges are blended. All right, now that we use all three brushes, saw some YSL shadow in action, it's time to apply some lashes, and I'll be right back. And here are the close-ups of the final looks using Sonia's new Japanese Gardens Maki-e eyeshadow set for holiday 2024. And it's funny, while I was doing the final look, putting on the lashes, I thought about the fact that this video isn't so much to convince you that Sonia brushes are excellent. I think if you already own Sonia brushes, you already know. I think the more important part of the video was presenting the comparisons that I had in mind. If you already have her Sunset Crane set, her Summer Koi set, and you're wondering, do I really need the Japanese Garden Maki-e set? Well, if you are a collector, then the answer is yes, because each brush set represents a story, and having all three, because that was Sonia's original plan, was to release all three and give us the opportunity to choose which one would serve us better. But with manufacturing, timelines, and all the things, it didn't pan out that way. But I'm happy that she decided to just by default to release them separately. And yes, for someone that receives PR, would I have purchased this set? 100%, because I am a collector when it comes to Fude, and to have each set, even though the shapes are similar, I think it's interesting that they each have different bristle types, because even though the shape is the same, like the builder shape from all three, they all deposit shadow differently, they blend differently, they all have a different role depending on your eye shape, your eyelid texture, your skin, the type of shadow that you use. So it's not so much just looking at the shape similarities, but keeping in mind what a difference it makes in terms of the bristle, what impact that has in picking up the shadow, blending it, placing it on the lid. That is all to consider, but I think this, well, it's tough for me to name my favorite. I think just from an aesthetic point of view, the fact that you have like the white and gray color that coincides with the silver moon, I just think aesthetically it pulls together beautifully. But every time I see the Summer Koi set, just aesthetically, to have the persimmon dyed bristles here with the blue detailing on the handle, it's hard for me to pick because I look the Sunset Crane with this design brush. You can't go wrong. It's so hard for me to choose, but I think I connected with the story behind the Japanese set because I do love Japanese culture, architecture, and gardens as well. I actually have a book of different houses that are made in traditional Japanese style, and if I had all the money in the world, I most certainly would have a Japanese garden that I can just sit in and reclaim my center. But all that to say, let me know if you've already picked this up, if you've used them already, what your thoughts are down below, and stay tuned for an entirely different video taking a look at the YSL quads today and some other things that I bought. I'm gonna call it the luxury trap video because that's exactly what happened to me. But like I had said earlier, family, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and if you already are, make sure you click the notification bell so you are alerted of any new uploads that drop. And with that said, I'll see you in the comments and I'll see you on here again soon.